right now. One cup is not going to be enough, buddy.
I know it. I left my big cup in the car.
Oh, I thought we had that daggone board this morning.
Yeah, you didn't have drainage today?
No, we didn't. I guess that meets every, what? What's the drainage board meet? Every quarter?
Every month.
It meet today.
Wasn't nothing on the agenda. There was something little, and Terry was just gonna hold it till next month, and then I had one on there, and I called Keith and told him, I said, Keith, they've already canceled it. I said, you're gonna have to wait till March, so. I should have got a hold of him, cause I thought we was gonna have it, but then I found out that, well, they've already canceled it, so. Cause I already told Keith Ford, me and Brian, when we was driving roads, I daggone pulled Keith up and showed him what the problem was down there, so he was gonna come to the meeting today, but I called him up. I forgot about it, and I called him last night. I said, Keith, what are you doing tomorrow? Well, I'm coming to see you. I said, no, you're not. We're canceled the meeting, so.
I didn't get a notification we canceled.
I know. How did I find out? I'm sure I got it.
Well, maybe I should have looked. I didn't
I'm
look
sure
at
I
it.
did.
I'll check my email and make sure I got it.
Yeah.
I got down here in time for it. Sir? Good morning. I welcome you all to the first February meeting of the Morgan County Commissioners. And thank you for all fighting Mother Nature and winning and getting here. Our agenda is relatively short, but you never know if it'll stay like that. We will begin with a prayer, and then it'll follow with, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance and then a prayer. I've asked Steve Leidy, our Emergency Health Service Officer, to lead us in prayer. Lead us in the pledge. I intended to have and I want you to keep him in your thoughts, our Mark Toomey is with his wife this morning, and keep them in the light, if you would, please. Steve, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Steve.
Please bow. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and all the opportunities that it will bring. We know that there are many out there throughout the world that are needing your love, guidance, and assistance. We just pray that you wrap around your arms around our world, protect us, guide us, love us as we love you. And dear Lord, we just pray that you plant yourselves in the lives of who need you the most. Give us the strength and the knowledge to get through the days ahead. Be with us as a nation. Be with our public safety officials, our healthcare workers, our military, both near and far. And dear Lord, let our work here on earth be pleasing to you. And all these things we pray in your precious name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Vicki. The first item on our agenda in new business is the claims.
We have one hold for council action tonight.
Okay. copy there.
Yep.
Are there any questions? There is one hold for the council, as Auditor Basson has mentioned. Do you have any other questions about the claims? We'll
I'll just
entertain a
make the
motion.
comment, coming from the council to the commissioner, it's interesting to see the number of claims every month. And it's numerous pages, and when you get them on your cell phone, they look really, the claims don't look as bad because they're a lot smaller, but when they print them out, they get quite expensive. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the claims as submitted with the one hold.
A motion to accept and a second to accept the claims. Any other comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 3-0. Community Corrections Grant. Jeff, from the Community Corrections, and would you entertain us with
Yes. So
the
this is,
information?
this is for the juvenile grant, not the adult grant. The DOC made a separation about 3 years ago, and they took all the juvenile monies out of the regular adult grant we used to get, and it's separate. So we present this separately at the state level, also separately here at the commissioners meeting, as well as our Community Corrections Advisory Board, which was done last week and approved and signed by Sheriff Rich Myers. I won't take much of your time this morning. I do have 3 copies of the complete grant application. If anyone wants a copy, if you want an email copy, just email me and I'll send it to you. Just for those that don't know, this grant covers my position, which is a statutory requirement in our county that we have an intake officer that's on call 24/7. We have divided that up slightly starting a year ago, which was a pleasant change after being on call for 24 years straight. This covers prevention, intervention, and diversion for juveniles in our county. Prevention would be anything we receive from law enforcement or a school or a parent and they want help with their kids. We might see that case, we might bring them in, we might refer them to another agency. We get quite a few of those a year. On average, I'm estimating 75 to 100 of those prevention type calls a year. Those may or may not become cases or a formal referral in our community. We have the diversion window. Those cases are the referrals that are made with delinquents who break the law, and they may or may not end up in court. We may send those kids to counseling. We may put them on what we call an informal probation order and supervise them and rehabilitate them. The final component of the grant is a intervention phase. Intervention phase is any referral we receive from the prosecutor's office that ends up going to court. So that would be your more serious crimes, delinquent acts, or a repetitive type pattern. That basically covers this portion of the grant and what position that covers. Again, it also includes someone that's on call 24 hours for the court to make detention decisions when the court's closed. So for example, we might get a call from the sheriff's department and they've had a high-speed chase and now they want to detain the kids. We have to meet with the family, the child, go through the background, see if it meets court's criteria, and then make a decision. Occasionally, we may put that kid on electronic home monitoring. We might put him with another family member, or we might lock him up in juvenile detention. So that grant covers that function for the county as well. And so this year, as well as the past decade, the money's been stagnant. There's been no increase. But the state, available through the state, is $67,851. So we're requesting that we be allowed to submit that grant application for that amount. I'll just point out, we also use user fees to cover my position through probation. Those are adult and juvenile. Community corrections user fees, primarily we gain that money or gather that money via home detention fees. And that amount is $46,488. Again, that's all budgeted in under our home detention fees. Does anyone have any questions? There's a lot more detail, obviously, to the grant than that, but I'm just trying to make it really simple this morning.
I appreciate I've seen several of those grants. As you know, I've been on that Community Corrections Board for several years. And I am always amazed at the detail of those grant applications, and I'm also always amazed at the work that is accomplished through your offices for the people of this county, and I certainly appreciate that
Well, thank
very,
you.
very much.
Thank you very
And
much.
it's I don't like to overuse the word award-winning community corrections operation, but it certainly is. It ranks very at the top in the state, and I think it's one of those secrets that needs to be trumpeted by this county, that we have such a fine operation over there for the citizens, operating as frugally but as effectively as we do. So thank you, and thank the board. Do we have any other questions or comments from do I have a motion?
Go ahead and make a motion for fiscal year 2021, 2022 for the community corrections for a juvenile correction grant, not to exceed $135,000.
Yes.
We've had a motion. Do we have a second?
Brian Collier seconds.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the motion passes 3-0, and thank you very much, Jeff, for
Thanks,
your
Jeff.
report. Appreciate it. Next, we have a bridge inventory presentation from Steve Jones and United Engineering. Steve?
Good morning. We wanted to come this morning and just give you a brief update on the bridge inspection project. And first of all, I'd like to say thank you for allowing us the opportunity to work on the project. We have a really good partnership with the county, and your bridges are in really good shape, and your program is in compliance with NDOT and Federal Highway. But we are going to turn in the final report this week after we present it to you today, and we put copies of the final report on your desk in front of you. So those are your copies. And just as a reminder, this is a 4-year project, and it's phased. There's phased inspections over that 4-year period based on the different types of bridges you have. And it's 80% paid for by the Federal Highway. And like I say, this inspection book and all the work is, once it's submitted, you will be in compliance with the Federal Highway. This is Josh Gagne. He's the lead engineer on the project, and I wanted to introduce him to you. And he and his team have been down here over the 4 years off and on, and they've done a really good job. They've been down here inspecting the bridges in accordance with the schedule that we had to adhere to. And so he's been here, and I've asked him to just give you a real brief update on the condition of your bridges, maybe, and kind of as they compare to other counties within the state. So he has some good information. I also have a handout that I'll give you that I'm sure he will cover, and this has information on both sides.
Thank you.
Steve?
Thank you, sir.
My name's Josh Gagne, like Steve said, lead engineer for this project. Like you said, we're submitting the final report for your bridge inventory phase 2 today. We've provided the county with 4 printed copies and 6 flash drives. The flash drives contain a digital report that's the same thing that's in your binder, but it's got buttons, so you can click through and kind of navigate it much easier. But there's information on all 147 of your bridges. And toward the front are customized tables that have been coordinated with Morgan County to summarize various aspects. The flash drives also contain all of the inspection photos, should you want to look at any of those. The summary sheet that Steve just handed to you, in the middle of that front page, it references some of the tables in your report. The middle section kind of has some noteworthy bullet points on posted and fracture critical and things of that sort. The bottom portion of that front sheet kind of highlights bridges we've given the highest priority to for replacement and rehabilitation. These have been coordinated with Mr. Hinkle of the county and reflect the top 5 of each list that he's planning on going through. There are a total of 16 bridges that we recommend for replacement and 9 that we recommend for rehabilitation. And if you flip over to the back side of the sheet, kind of our quote-unquote report card section of the bridge inventory program, you can see that Morgan County, the average age of the bridge is 41, and you have about 33% that are older than 50 years. Typically, on a bridge structure, we are looking at 50 to 75 years, and then you're kind of looking into the rehabilitation or replacement route after that. But Morgan County in general is performing well on all the metrics that we typically measure. And we're working with the Highway Department to ensure that Morgan County continues in that fashion and continues to improve on all these metrics. The county has been very easy to work with, as well as Tony, through even the team's coordination since he's been kind of overseas for a little while. We haven't had any problems. The responsiveness for repairs and maintenance recommendations have been very good. It's really been a pleasure to work with Mr. Smith and then kind of transition into Mr. Hinkle and his team. And personally, I've just really enjoyed working on the project, and I hope that we have an opportunity to assist in the future. Thank you,
Thanks,
gentlemen.
Josh.
Any questions?
No comment, but just a comment on the quality of the work that you've performed. It's been a pleasure to have you with us, and it's give us some confidence, and I really appreciate the manner that Josh and your team has put this report together. And the summary, Keith, did you get a summary of the bridge report that Keith got one?
Yeah. I can't hear you.
Can't, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we handed one.
Okay, I'm just making sure you got this for your reporting. Because most people aren't aware of what we do and then how much responsibility and what the safety factor of our inventory, especially with our bridges. So, thank you very much. Any other
I
comments?
have one question.
Yes, sir.
Being new on here, what is your definition? This may sound funny, but what is your definition of a bridge? Because I've been told anything from a 6-foot culvert to, I mean, the pictures,
So-
those are obvious bridges, we all know that, but then I've also had people argue with me that a 6-inch
Yes, sir.
drainage, what I would call a drainage
The-
pipe by some standards is called a bridge, which I wouldn't call it a bridge at all.
So for the bridge inventory and the FHWA definition of bridges that qualify and need these routine inspections is a span of 20 feet or longer. There are also provisions with various spacing requirements. If you had like a triple barrel pipe next to each other, if the fill in between them is less than some threshold, they may count. But we do go through and investigate all those to make sure that we've got every bridge, quote-unquote bridge, covered in your county. Everything else would fall under a small structure almost, and some counties have looked into that, but it's not been required by FHWA for anybody to do anything with those yet.
Right,
So you're just looking at 20 feet span or longer right now.
okay, thank you.
And I
Yes, sir.
would encourage you, those books are kind of overwhelming to carry around, but inside that book is a flash drive that has all of that same material, and you can search. I just encourage you to put it in. It's really a great program that we use. can search by, I think, bridge number. You can kind of scan over the map. If you know the area that you want to look at, but you don't know the bridge number, you can find it on the map and click on it, and it'll pull up all the pictures and the data. So I do encourage you to use that flash drive that's in there. Thank you very much. We really appreciate the opportunity and really appreciate the partnership that we have with Morgan County.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And Commissioner Collier, in another item you probably you understand, I didn't know when I first worked in this position, but when they say bridges in the county, they mean bridges in the county. If they're inside a city, it's ours. So we actually are inspecting, and I guess you'd say saving the town the issue of if there's a bridge there, which there are in some. I dealt with that very same problem of what is a bridge on a situation in Mooresville, and we got out the measuring tape, and yep, it's a bridge, and it's our baby, so we have to deal with it.
Okay.
Not have to. That's our responsibility, and that's what we pay for. So
Good to know.
it's
Thank
very
you.
responsible for the safety of our citizens, and kind of unknown, really, in a lot of respects, but a very important part. Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Josh. We appreciate it. You might have noticed this morning that we're absent of council, so if anything comes up that we need that, we'll just table it. But our attorney was called out and is unable to be with us this morning. So if you're wondering where Jim is, he will not be here till the next meeting. So we'll take anything that would come up later. Next item is an EMS MOU. Is that Josh or Donnie?
Morning, gentlemen. I'll just introduce it real quickly and then let Donnie talk about it.
Okay.
We found that we had an extra AED. Adams and Ashland had reached out to Donnie inquiring about grant money to get one, and Donnie had the idea that we might go ahead and sign an MOU to let them use ours to provide continuity of care, and I'll let Donnie tell you a little bit more about that.
As Josh had mentioned, we have, it's actually an auto pulse. When we purchased them, we had a spare that we had set aside. We had discussions about where we were going to put it, and nothing actually transpired from that. So we've kept it in good repair in storage. We were approached by ANA about getting our contact information for Zoll so they could get pricing about getting a grant, to move forward with a grant under the, I think it's the Firefighters Grant Program. Seeing that they had a need and we could fill a need, it made sense to go ahead and do that if we could. And I hope I answered the questions that Don had via email to your satisfaction.
Should Jim look this over before we go ahead?
He has.
Oh, he has looked it over? Okay. All right. Well, we have any questions from the board?
One comment, I'd much rather it be sitting on somebody's ambulance than sitting on a shelf in storage.
Agreed.
Yes, amen.
Thank you. Then I'll entertain a motion.
Brian Collier makes that motion.
Second.
Had a motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Donnie.
Thank you.
Okay. I think I flipped over my agenda. We have a comprehensive emergency plan, a signature thing for the EMA. Davey Skaggs. Thank you, sir.
Good morning. I'm here on behalf of Mark. Mark and Tori and I have been finalizing completion of the updates for the comprehensive emergency plan for Morgan County, and basically what I'm here for is to get that promulgated, and that way we can get it rolled back into, I mean, it's still in effect, but with all the new changes, so if I have a form that kind of finalizes it, so if you guys have any questions, basically that was all that I had, but.
The signature page, is it with us here?
I brought it right here.
Okay. Okay. This doesn't take any voter action, I assume, or do we just approve it?
I think we have to vote to update the updates.
All right. Do we have a motion to accept this?
The updates, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
I said, I think we have to have a motion to accept the updates.
Do we have a motion to accept this?
So moved.
And we've had a motion to accept the signature page. And any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Davey, and we'll get her signed.
Thank you very much.
Oops. The next two items in new business are a legal contract, or service contract with Jim Wisco and an unsafe building commission discussion that Jim has been working on. I will take a motion to table those until Jim is here. Or oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and just,
Well,
We wanna
maybe
make
we ought
that
to table
motion.
that.
just some brief background.
He was going to present it.
This is the same contract that has been in place for your attorneys before this. It was revamped last year just for Jim, but it's the same contract, and it is unchanged from last year in terms of conditions and price. So I would recommend to you all that we would approve it today so we can get Jim paid.
That way he won't have to step out in the hall when we decide, right?
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
And while I'm up here, I'll go ahead and mention, Jim has sent me a brief memo outlining some of the pros and cons of an unsafe building commission. Once I have reviewed that, we'll send it on to you guys for something for you to start chewing on as well.
All right, thank you. So, motion to take action, I'm sorry, is there a motion to take action on Jim's contract?
Make a motion, we go ahead and approve the 2021 legal service contract with Foley, Peden, and Wisco for Morgan County.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Brian Collier seconds.
We had a motion to accept the contract in second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0.
I got one.
You got one other new business item. You may be working off out-of-date agenda. There need to be,
Oh, I think I am.
I got one other thing too, Don, real fast on this legal contract, though, if we could.
I'm sorry?
I got one other thing on this legal contract with Wisco, if I could, for just a minute.
Sure.
If you look at page 2, if we're going to use, Jim, anything outside of the normal commissioner realm, I need to make sure that we have commissioner's blessing on doing so. So I know you two commissioners both know that I've got a FEMA grant awarded, and I've been working with Jim, getting ready to get started on that. But in the past, I've always used county attorney to do the vendor's app, purchase agreement, and the warranty deed. I know in the past they've let me run with the purchase agreement, and I've talked to Jim about it, and he's gonna do this, but I feel like I need to make sure that you guys bless that. FEMA does pay legal counsel on that. I've got a line item in the budget for it, so, and it's, I just want to make sure that we had your guys' blessing, probably need that in the form of a motion.
And that's at the stated rate within the contract, right?
Absolutely.
You can-
Thank you, Kenny,
I
and
don't have a problem.
I appreciate you bringing that to our attention. Did you make a motion to go ahead and make sure, or we already had passed it, you just making a clarification?
I don't have a problem making a motion on, make a motion, we go ahead and use Wisco on the FEMA grants for 2021.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded for FEMA grants using Jim Wisco, our attorney. Any more discussion from us or the audience? All right, let's, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Another item on the new business is the Morgan County Treasurer's Statement of Investment Policy that we need to approve and move on with.
Is this AKA Board of Finance?
I didn't hear the question.
I asked if this was, what you just stated was the same as the Board of Finance.
Yes. Any questions or any comments from the,
Terry cannot be at this meeting today, so she asked that I present this to you for acceptance. It's an annual Board of Finance and Statement of the Investment Policy that's presented at the first meeting in February each year for the commissioners to review and accept. I don't have a whole lot to add to that.
that sounds like it's following the procedures we've used. And
Yes, it is.
questions from the board about the investment policy?
It's the same policy that's been in place for the last several years, consistent with the Indiana statute.
Making sure we do it right. Everybody keeps this track on the dollar, don't they? Well, thank you, sir, and we'll entertain a motion to accept the investment policy presented.
Go ahead and make a motion, we approve the investments policy as presented by the Board of Finance for Morgan County.
Is there a second?
Brian Collier seconds.
Any other comment? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Uh,
Go ahead.
And the motion passes 3-0.
One other item related to the Board of Finance is the organization of the Board of Finance. So there needs to be a chairman of the board. The board consists of the Board of Commissioners and the county treasurer. So we need a chairman and I think you need a clerk, a treasurer, and a secretary. So it could be any one of the four members that you can appoint to be chairman, and then the other remaining three, any one of those three could be appointed as secretary.
We do that at this meeting.
Yes.
All right, let's take care of that. It's the treasurer and the three of us are the board of the investment.
Yes.
What has been the practice? If there has
It looks like that the practice has been the chairman of the commissioners has been the chairman of the Board of Finance, and the treasurer has served as secretary.
Well, I have no problem maintaining the tradition. Is there any questions about that?
I'm reading the minutes, and it states treasurer, not secretary.
Yep.
So do we have to appoint a treasurer, and, I know you have to have a chair, but do we need a chair, treasurer, and secretary?
Just the two. I'm pretty sure it's just the two, what it's always been.
quite honestly, these minutes that I'm reading here are confusing to me. Okay, I'm not sure,
i.e. why I stopped and started asking questions. I'm with
I'm
you,
always
Dan.
glad you are, sir.
I'm gonna make sure that we do it right.
it does say treasurer, but I would believe that it would be be a chairman and a secretary. And if that's true, then,
Because what are you a treasurer of?
yeah,
That board
Yes.
has no money, they just make investment recommendations. So I think you would need a chairman and a secretary, but
my point.
I'm not
my
all that
point.
familiar with this board.
Yeah, yeah, that's my point.
Well, we can always change or add at the next meeting, so I will make a formal motion that we have the current chairman of the commissioners to act as the chairman of the Board of Finance and the current treasurer to represent this board as the secretary.
Second.
Thank you. We've had a motion that the chairman of the commissioners will be the president of the board and that the treasurer will be the secretary, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Thank you. Thank you, Dan, for bringing that to my attention. I didn't have that. Is there any other items in new business?
Yes, I think we skipped over the financial commitment letter, which was on my outline is point 4.
I had a line through that, and I'm not sure why. Josh? It doesn't require action, so. There, Commissioner. Old business and tabled business. I will begin the discussion with one of the appointments for the South Central Community Action Program. I have not received any information on the appointment that I was seeking. So I will entertain. South Central Community Action Program is a program that is run through 4 counties. I was on the board several years ago. The recommendation was for Life Design, which is another organization which is Bloomington-based. I have a little problem handing off an appointment to a board when we are the board. And I don't have any problem with the appointee, but I don't have any reason to want to accept that until I understand more and get more information. So here's the thought. I would go ahead and we would appoint me as that board member, and then I can resign once I find out the story on the money and make sure that Morgan County is represented well, and then take a recommendation from Life Design, if so be it, later on. But I don't like boards to be appointed on places where there ought to be people. So does that make sense?
Brian Collier makes a motion that we appoint Don Adams to represent us on the SCCAP.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. I'll inform South Central of that decision. Other appointments, I still have not been able to get a phone call back on the animal control from the person serving that. I think I'm just going to have to park over there and take my dog. And I don't even have a dog. I can take a pigeon. I don't think she'd appreciate that. So we'll table that until I get over and see the current appointee. What other positions do we need to appoint there? Are we about to get those wrapped up?
These are Heartland, RC, and D. I don't think that we did, but I could be wrong. Deb will correct me.
We haven't done that one. And who was, the reason we hadn't is I wasn't familiar that they were still meeting, but I find out that they are. So we'll have to we'll have to dig into that. I think we'll table that till the February meeting so we can get a grip on it. Who was it? Was Norman on that?
Yes.
Okay. I'll follow up with that, or you can go ahead and appoint me, and I can always resign from that if they don't meet. You want to go ahead and cover it that way?
That'll work for me.
All right, I'll accept that one then and find out
Brian
what's going on.
Collier makes a motion that we appoint Don Adams to represent the commissioners on the Hoosier Heartland RC&D.
Second.
Motion made and seconded for me to be on the Hoosier Heartland RC&D. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0.
I think the only other one you have, Don, is the Community Corrections Advisory Council. You have the Education Representative.
Have we heard anything from, we were looking at Martinsville for somebody. Okay,
Not reached out.
okay. I'll follow up, Jeff, that's for the Community Corrections Board, and we'll see what we can do about that.
So Don, for clarification, you're going to reach out to the MHS of Martinsville to see if they have anybody that
I'll
wants.
make sure it gets done, because I'm not sure, I think the lady that was the education person was from Mooresville, and she's no longer with the school, so I'll work with either Martinsville, Mooresville, or another one of the communities. It might be an opportunity to reach out to one of the other four community, or, you know, one of the other school corporations for recommendation too. So I'll look into that and have something for you on Wednesday.
Okay.
Or-
I think that's your only vacancy, right?
Okay, that's the only vacancy we have left besides Amy. So
Yes, we
we'll
had
get
4.
that wrapped up.
And now we're down to 2. Animal and
Animal and, yep, we're getting there. All right. Any other, on the old business, we have the mass gathering, and I think that was going to be with Jim and some of the things he's working on. We do have a culture audit discussion. Josh or Doree, would you bring us up to date with that, please?
We have been working with Apex in the last week or so, a couple weeks, trying to figure out where we want to go with this, and we're starting to narrow it down and work from that area. So just trying to narrow it down a little bit to what we want to find, what information we want to find out regarding our employees, and then take care of the responses that we get.
So that discussion is ongoing,
Correct.
and, you know, we were involved in some of it. I think the Apex is, that will not cost the county anything. All we have to do is start working on developing the kind of, I guess you say, tool that we will use to create an audit that will be helpful to the employees and the county.
Correct.
All right.
And at this time, we're thinking of taking smaller bites rather than a big, huge audit. Maybe focus on one thing and then next time focus on another.
Small bites so we don't choke. That's-
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, and I appreciate the work you're
Doree.
doing with that, Doree.
What are you expecting from the commissioners to help you with that? Because I've noticed you've thrown some emails out that have types of questions. What are you,
Correct.
what are you seeking?
I think that the bottom line that we would be seeking would be to make life better for our employees. And whatever that looks like, whatever direction we go, like if we're talking about insurance, maybe we add an HSA plan. Or if we're talking about time off, maybe we make an adjustment there. Just trying to let our employees know that we are hearing them and we want to know what they think, and that we will do our best to help make us the employer for Morgan County.
So what I'm hearing is more PR and encouragement to participate in the survey once it's done. Is there anything you expect from us on the input to form the survey?
I feel like this is probably being driven by the commissioners, rather, it's not really being driven by me, or Josh. It would be what direction you guys would prefer to go with it. And then we would be drawing in department heads and elected officials, so that we could have a large participation. I want to know what everybody thinks, but I'd rather know what everybody thinks instead of just 10%. So I think that it would be helpful if the commissioners would say, hey, this is going to be a great thing, and we are willing to make some changes depending on the results that we get, that it's not going to be ignored.
And I would encourage that we not only have 3 commissioners, but bring in our 7 legislators, the council, so that they're encouraging, so that we get a bigger feedback on helping to set the atmosphere that we're all trying to achieve.
That sounds great to me.
That would be a easy virtual meeting as well, so we might consider that, to have a virtual meeting and put out I think that would be very helpful to the process.
I can look into scheduling
I
a
think
time for
they should
that.
be brought into the loop because it affects a lot of things that it affects dollars as well as
And you
attitude.
might throw out before the meeting, like, types of questions, so that I have some steerage, since I've never done anything like this, and I'm not well-educated in climate audits, and, you know, I don't know how to, what I'm asking, I'm trying to help you, but I've never done this, so I don't even know how to help you. So if I have a little bit more direction and more guidance, then we can get to the end result, because I don't think this needs to become a mountain, especially if we're going to do
Correct.
a little hill each time. So I think the important things is that we get it done and at least get the first one under our belt and get it started.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doree. Park rental request. Kenny, what you got?
You got Ashley Clarkston's wanting to do a wedding. Actually, her first choice is October 16 of 2021. Second choice would be October 23rd of 2021. She's asking to be able to do the square gazebo. She's also asking that the restroom buildings be open. She's also asking to be able to do this from 4 o'clock, start setting up and get everything set up at 4 o'clock for the wedding, but let that go till 10 o'clock at night. They would get it all cleaned up and everything by 10 and out of there. My only concern, that's what I told her, this is against the rules that we have in place. It's dawn to dusk is what it's supposed to be. And we pretty much have kept that, other than the haunting of Waverly. We've done that each year. So I told her I didn't have a problem with it as long as you're gonna have some kind of security there. She said she named a state trooper that I know, and also a Mooresville PD officer that lives in the area that I know, and she's willing to even have security there just to make everything Duggan, because she wants it to stay Duggan, really nice and stuff, but she don't have a problem having security there. She's been to a couple weddings where they've had that late at night. She works third shift, and that's why they would like this in the afternoon, but they would like to do it. The tent that would actually be set up would be on her mother, or her grandmother's property that I actually bought out back in 2008 or 9. So I understand where she's coming from. I don't have a problem as long as we don't have now the alcohol getting out of control and have security. I don't have a better problem with it. It is setting a precedent though, and I think if you're gonna set a precedent, we need to do it with that.
I'm sorry, I heard the president with what?
Is by going ahead and having a security. If we're gonna allow people to stay up there, especially with alcohol
You're saying,
after night,
So we allow alcohol in our parks?
we do, but they have to pay a deposit to be able to do that as well. Absolutely. But this board's the one that makes that call on that, if you wanna allow it or not. Yes. Yeah, it costs $25 plus $400 damage deposit. But I mean, that's at our discretion. I mean, we're the board, so.
Well, I've been to a lot of weddings that, I think the security part of it's fine. I don't have any, you know, I don't have any issue with what is being done as long as there's security there.
That's the way I am about it. I mean, I would feel a little bit better that this don't turn into just a real crazy party and really cause disturbance for the community up there, which,
Well,
I don't think it will, but you never know. So,
If it does, we know what to do next time, but you can't swim unless you get your feet in the water.
true.
So, Brian, question?
It's a small deposit, not this one particular, but that's a small deposit for, I mean, that's not much damage, $400.
No.
So,
Well,
I mean, that kind of strikes me. I mean, what's the repercussion? Legal? I mean, they got a contract, but definitely if you're gonna change the rules from the current dusk to dawn, then I think then there should be something that they have to provide qualified security. I mean, you just can't go hire your buddy to sit there and say, well, he was acting as security.
And you're saying it'd be qualified would be a police officer?
Something of that statute.
That, of course, is, should they provide that name to Kenny? Or Kenny, do you think that's the use?
I think more, I've already heard the names, but I think we actually ought to have them mark in with Central Dispatch, let them know that they are up there doing security and mark out whenever they mark out, is what I think. I am gonna be going up there closing up afterwards myself, just to make sure everything's locked up and closed up, but.
And you mentioned to 10 o'clock?
Yes.
Is this in May?
No, it's in October.
Depends on how early in October.
16th, preferred, 23rd, the alternative.
Sundown is on the 16th of October, but I expect it's probably 8 or 9
Earlier than that.
Yeah, I would think in
October. Well, it shouldn't be too awfully late. We'll just see how this one works. That's my thought. Just go ahead and make sure they understand that there are guinea pig as far as events. And
Be about 7:15, 7:30 that time of year. And I don't know why anything would have to be after 10. I hate
We're
to
gonna
think
have
that
to have-
Kenny's
if they-
volunteering to go up there at 10 o'clock at night to make sure that the park gets closed down.
I want to make sure.
I'm clear but
And I could possibly work with the one state trooper, I know him good, and I could work with that, and might be able to get it pulled off that away as well, maybe.
we don't have much in way of lighting up there, do we, that they would be able to? Are they gonna furnish?
Yeah, it'll be right in front of where the new maintenance building is, so I mean, yeah, there is light, but
Okay, right.
not a ton, but I mean, there is some.
Okay. Well, Kenny,
One thing on.
give me a call if you need at 10 o'clock. I'll come over and help you.
And Mr. Clary, I'd address one thing. This is not actually changing the policy of the park board has already set. This is just allowing it. Same way with the alcohol, that's subject to approval. That's not saying we're just blanketing alcohol, but if they want to do something other than what the park rules are, they got to come to this board. Since we don't have a park board, we got 3 commissioners acting as the park district's board. So, I mean, that's what they got to do. So it wouldn't be changing the policy. It's still going to be dawn to dusk. And I just want to make sure you're aware of that. So.
well, I'm going to yield to your recommendation, sir, because you're the one that's dedicated a whole lot more time in bringing that park up to where anyone would want to have a wedding there. So I understand your concern, and I want to back you on that because it is a nice park.
It is indeed. Vicki?
So Kenny, are you saying for every contract of
They've always had to, yes. It's part of the application. I'll show you the application, but it's part of that application. And basically, it's just alcohol permits subject to approval, and then they gotta pay.
On some rentals, you might allow it, on others, you may not.
Up to the board's discretion, yes. I'd go ahead and make a motion that we approve the October 16, 2021 for the Clarkstons to do a wedding up there as outlined with allowing the alcoholic beverages with the condition they will have security there that will be working with us.
Motion's been made to accept the permit that Kenny has outlined for us. Do we have a second?
Brian Collier, second.
Motion's made and seconded for that permission. Any further discussion from the board or from the audience? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion I should say aye. Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Kenny.
Can I have one more, Park?
Oh, all right, let's hear.
When from Debbie Richards, they're actually wanting to do it May 1st of 2021. Their second choice would be May 2nd. Also to do a wedding up there, non-alcohol, regular hours. They will be doing the gazebo that's across from the church, as well as reserving town square as well for the wedding, so.
I don't have any problem with any question from, you have any questions about that? We'll take a motion.
I'll go ahead and make a motion, we approve the Richards for the wedding request for May 1st. Alternative date would be May 2nd, do a wedding.
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Second it. Second, and then we'll vote, and then I'm an aye. There you go.
Missed that.
Hey, that happens in that position.
Well, that's why I like being on a park board, right? We had a second, and now the motion has been made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you.
One last thing with parks, Don.
Don't give me another permit.
That's an easy one. I got David Mao here. They're wanting to do the weed wrangle this year.
Do what?
Weed wrangle, you've been a part of it.
I did that last year, I found
Yeah.
out.
In Old Town Waverly Park, it'd be April 10th. For Burkhart Creek, it'd be April 17th. They're also wanting to have our permission to use the county park logo, and they've done it in the past, and I just wanted to bring this up. I don't have a problem with it. The only thing, and David, I'm gonna let you address this real fast if you would, sir. If we do this year, we're gonna have to start putting together a plan, and they're willing to go ahead and put together the plan for us, so I'm gonna let him talk about that.
Yes. You may be familiar that I've done these weed wrangles in the past. This year, they have instituted a policy that if we do a weed wrangle, you have to have an invasive species control plan. And I've been doing these for the public in Morgan County with my partner from Sikkim, and it's free, so we will do this for the county. We need somebody from a park representative standpoint to join us. We'll show you what invasives you have, and then we will write up a plan of control. What you need to do to control these various invasive species. I also would like to get permission for a porta pot at Burkhart Creek on April 17th. Since this will be a family-friendly event, we do need some restroom facilities. And if you're not familiar, if you haven't heard, we had our weed wrangles last year. With COVID, it was kind of up in the air. We did a virtual weed wrangle at Burkhart Creek where people went out on their own, photographed what they had pulled, and then we did the go out on your own and pull at Old Town Waverly. The contest, there's a statewide contest, and for each sponsor, partner, we get extra points. Well, in 2020, Morgan County won the statewide contest. And we received $500 and the use of a certified herbicide applicator for 4 hours at one of our weed wrangles. So, are there any questions?
I will tell you, I didn't know a daggone thing about wild garlic till I went over to that weed wrangle, and I found out they're really kind of edible.
They are,
And,
and that's part of why we do these, so we can educate the public.
Yeah, it was a good, enjoyable event. I appreciated that. I had a heck of a time finding the first one, but once I got onto it, it worked out real well. So.
Yeah. This year, we're going to start working on winter creeper.
Oh, is that
and-
euonymus or?
Yeah, Euonymus fortunii, and it is illegal to sell in the state of Indiana now. If you're not familiar with it, there are 44 invasive species that are illegal to trade, transport, gift, barter, and sell. So you can't even collect these and use them in a wreath, or because you can't transport them, you can't use them in a flower arrangement. And I have that list of 44 species. There are 126 species listed as invasive. So a lot of people don't understand that there's that many species of plants that are considered invasive. And when we go out and do our property surveys, we're familiar with these 126 plants, and we can show you that you've got them. This is why they're bad, and then we'll explain to you how to get rid of them. Because not every plant species can be controlled the same way. You can't kill a tree the same way you kill grass. So we'll give you recommendations on all of that. So what I need is permission to use the park logo and porta pot at Burkhart on April 17th.
Go ahead and make a motion that we approve to do the weed wrangle this year with the porta potty included at Burkhart Creek for April 17th, as well as the weed wrangle at Old Town Waverly Park April 10th, and using the county logo as well on all advertising material.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second with one question before we vote. Where's the funding for the porta pot come from?
It'll come out of the park budget.
So the parks, okay. I'm good with it. I second.
I didn't hear that answer, and you're right next to me.
Parks budget,
Park budget. How much does that cost?
basically, we got the two up there in Old Town Waverly Park. They're up there continuously. It's like 220, and one of them is handicap accessible, the other one's standard
220
for both of them
For
for 30 days. So it'll
a
be a
month?
lot cheaper. Yeah, that's a month. So it'll be a lot cheaper.
I
They're
hope-
serviced every week in Waverly
Yeah.
Park.
Be nice when we were able to afford to build something, or we are building one, I guess, now, right? Is there,
We got the new ones already done in
They're already done?
Waverly Park. We don't have one in
at Burkhart?
Burkhart.
All right, well, thank you for the motion, and thank you for the information, and we have a second, and thank you for your work. Winter creeper, I can give you about 7 acres of it if you want. Some nasty
Well, We're
stuff.
trying to get rid of the seed source at the public park, Jimmy Nash.
Yeah.
And it is spreading, birds eat the seeds and spread them, and as long as it stays on the ground, it doesn't flower and doesn't fruit. But
Goes up
as
a
soon as
tree.
it climbs, you get fruit, and
Yep.
it just goes everywhere. I know up around Mooresville, it's just thick.
I am aware. I wished I had a goat that'd eat it.
One of the master gardeners is actually utilizing goats to eat the winter creeper. The only problem is that once they take the goats off, it comes back. So herbicide treatment is recommended for control.
We've got the herbicide expert with you and Mr. Phillips over there, so attack.
We will.
All right. All in favor of the motion? It's been seconded? Say aye.
Aye.
Pass 3-0, and thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. Appreciate the education that you're doing and the good you're doing for the best resource in the most beautiful county in Indiana. Thank you.
David.
All right. We've got some tort, we got a tort claim, or do we have any other old business? But I had to, okay. Other business is a tort claim. It's in our packet. Just pass it on.
So moved.
All right. Motion to pass on the tort claim to the insurance company. All in favor, say aye. 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 Motion passes 3-0. We have minutes from 1/4 and 1/20/21, and we were all here for those, so takes care of that one.
Brian Kyer makes the motion that we approve the minutes as presented for the January 4th and January 20th meeting.
Second.
Accept the minutes from 1/4/21 and 1/20/21. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Any other further business? I always end our meetings with, for the good of the county, which is your opportunity to say something about what is going on, but I'd like to start with really a little report from Steve. I know I didn't prepare you for this, but you're always up on it every day, keeping track of where we're going with our COVID. I have had some good reports from people who've experienced our service down there, and I know you've just been working, well, tremendous amount of time. So can you give us an update?
Sure. Well, we've been doing it about 3 weeks now, so we've developed the rhythm, and it seems to be going fairly well. Starting today, our inventory has increased, so we're doing 200 a day instead of 100 a day. But just as quickly as our appointments get put on the website, they're taken up. The people in our county are overwhelmingly wanting their vaccines. Also, as of today, we're now doing 65 and up. The governor will be announcing that today. The news media is ahead of the governor, but we did get that notice ahead of time, so it wasn't a surprise. Other than that, all's going well. And if anybody has any questions, feel free. All right.
Thanks, Steve.
A lot, Steve. I know it's a program that's, I'm glad to see that I will say, you might have seen this, that Indiana as a whole is in the top number per 100 of vaccinations that have been given. And I think that says a lot about the program that we're a part of. So, any other good of the order? Sheriff.
I'd just like to give a quick shout out and thank you to County Highway this past weekend. You've done a great job. Our guys and gals were out working with them throughout the weekend. This snowstorm we had, and just tremendous job on our roads, and I appreciate what they did.
Thank you, Sheriff. I talked to Mr. Whaley and told him I was going to ride around, and I chickened out this weekend, but it has been a challenging weekend from Friday all the way on, and I hope we're out of the loop, but thank you. We always get good remarks from people that come into the county and saying our roads are in they know when they've hit Morgan County because the gang up there is taking pretty good care of us.
I too would like to thank the county highway. I've only had one complaint, and I told my wife I would shovel the driveway as quickly as I could.
You poor boy. Any other good of the order? Well, thank you all for being here, and I'd like for, you can drive our safe roads as you leave, and be careful yourself. Thank you so much. And I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Have a good, safe journey home. Signed.